Hey guys, welcome back. We're here to tell you how you can start breeding ball pythons on your own. Stay tuned. Ball pythons are hands down the most popular pet you're going to find in the reptile hobby. They are docile, they can be handled, they're not too big, they're not too small, and they are just cool enough that it's almost like having a wild carnivore in your house. Not like it is. Because of this and their affinity to live in small, dark burrows, it makes it possible to keep many of them. So they're very popular in the reptile breeding hobby and the variety of colors and patterns they come in. Now, before you decide you're going to start breeding ball pythons, I recommend you keep ball pythons for a small period of time, at least a year to 2 years. This will give you time to learn the husbandry, whether you like ball pythons or not, and whether you truly have the passion for it. It'll give you some practice and going through some hunger strikes and getting them back on food, which is all going to be necessary if you're going to want to breed these animals. So once you've decided that you do want to breed ball pythons, you're going to want to start preparing your snakes. And first things first, you're going to want to make sure you have a male and a female. So once you've determined that, and you can do that by probing, you can do that by popping, and you can do that with shed testing, actually. I know RGI does sex shed tests to sex your ball python, and I'm not sure if shedtesting.com does. Something to check out. We're not sponsored by either. I've used RGI in the past for morph tests, but not the sex determination. For your male, you're going to want them to be at least 6 to 9 months old and at least 600 grams. Female, you're going to want to make sure she is anywhere from 18 months to 3 years old. You'll see them be ready to breed, and you will want them to be at least 1,500 grams. Most in the hobby go by the 1,500 gram rule. There are some that will tell you 1,200. If you're doing this for the long term, I do recommend waiting for the 1,500 gram mark. It's just going to make sure they have enough body size on them to be able to go months without eating while they develop eggs. For both males and females, you're going to want to see a good body condition on them. You don't want to see a skinny snake where you can kind of see their spine down the back here or see their ribs. You want to see a nice round profile on them, because as I said, they may go off food once you start pairing them together to breed, and that could potentially cause them to lose some weight. So you want to make sure they're prepared for that potential hunger strike that they may go on during the breeding season. Next step will be making sure the conditions are right. On top of your husbandry, your humidity, your cleanliness of your substrate and your enclosures, your temperatures are on point, you're going to want to potentially start in the fall. We start in late October, usually early November, pairing our males and females. And this time of year will mimic their natural breeding season conditions in Africa with the cooler temps. Some people will tell you you should have a night drop on your hotspot. I have not had to do this, but I do know some breeders use it. So for your thermostat you're using on your rack or your enclosure, you're going to potentially want to look at getting something that gives you that night drop if that's something you want to try. I know with the VEs, there is a night drop module you can purchase that adds onto it. It's like $25. With the herp stats, they come with those pre-programmed in. At least my experience with those, and I've used the VE 200s and the herpstat Spider Web 2, I think it is. Pairing. So for pairing, you're going to always want to move the male to the female's enclosure. The female's enclosure is where all the pheromones are going to be. So getting that male over there is going to be key, and sparking that want to lock up or copulate. Now, once you've paired them, you're going to want to be hands off for a few days. The schedule I'll follow on a weekly basis is I typically will feed on a Thursday, and I will not pair snakes up until a Sunday night. And then I'll leave them in there for 2 to 3 days, or however long it takes for their lock or copulation to be completed. Sometimes I've had them go 3-4 days locked up, and then sometimes you never see a lock and you end up with eggs. It's just dependent on your male and female. It's every animal has different personality. It's a good idea as you're pairing, especially if you're going to pair multiple pairs or multiple males to one female, that you keep good records on locks and pairings. You may end up at the end of the season having some question as to who was the father of the eggs, and some good record keeping could really help you out in trying to identify those babies. The most you're going to want to pair a male to is 4 females, and I honestly don't recommend this if you don't have an ultrasound and you can't really pinpoint when that female's follicles are the right size and she is ready to start pairing. Otherwise, you could risk wearing out your male if you are pairing him once a week. You're going to want to give him some rest period in there if it's going to be for an extended breeding season. Now, for us, we do not have a ultrasound, so we will typically pair a male to 3 females at most to make sure that male's getting some decent rest time in between pairings. Make sure they're eating consistently, and again, that body condition is good before we pair them. It is almost certain the female is going to go off food at some point during the ovulation period, if not sooner. And the male, it's not unheard of for them to go off food at some point during the breeding season as well. Now, for each female, you're going to only want to pair her once a month. And typically, if you can get 2 to 3 locks in during the breeding season at once a month pace, you're going to have success. Again, this is something you'll want to follow a routine or schedule on so you can keep track of it and make sure you're not overworking your males. I can't stress that enough. It could be fatal for your male if you do overwork him, and you could open him up to sickness as well and health issues. When the male does go off food, and if it is early in the season and he's a younger male, he's maybe never bred before, I would keep a close eye on his weight and his body condition during that time, just to make sure he isn't losing weight and it's not putting him at risk to have health issues. Now, at this point, you're going to want to watch your female. She should start laying on the cool side at some point during the breeding season, which means she's trying to cool off to start developing those follicles. And then once she ovulates, which is going to be a big swell in the middle of her body, it's temporary, so it's easy to miss, and sometimes it's more obvious in others than others. So it's something you'll want to keep a close eye on, and if you see something, again, it goes back to that record keeping that you can look back on. Now, typically approximately 20 days after an ovulation, she will have a post-ovulation shed, or sometimes it's called a pre-lay shed, and this will mean you're typically within 30 days approximately of her laying eggs. Now, I have read of some females going 70 plus days after their pre-lay shed. I think most of our clutches last year were 40 plus days after their pre-lay shed. So the 30 days after pre-lay shed is not something that is written in stone. It varies with different animals. I'm sure it's based on the temperatures you have, and you'll just have to kind of roll with the punches on that and be patient. So after that pre-lay shed, as we said, somewhere approximately 30 days on average, you're going to see eggs. And at this point, you will want to incubate your eggs. Now check out this video here to see how we set up our egg boxes and incubate eggs. And if you like this video, please like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and check out this video right here. We will see you on the next one. Bye.